My name is Olivia Van Goor.
This is Michael Bublé.
We're the Supremes.
Merry Christmas to all from MC Hammer and the Posse.
This is Jane Monheit. You're listening to the Sounds of Christmas
podcast. Hi, I'm Ken Kessler, and welcome to the Sounds of Christmas podcast. If you're new to this podcast, I want to start by saying thanks for joining us. If you're not new, welcome back. Either way, I'm glad you're here. Now, to avoid any confusion, I want to start off by saying there won't be any music played here. This is a place for conversation. I'll talk about Christmas music and some related topics, sometimes by myself and sometimes with guests. If you're looking for music, just go to soundsofchristmas.com and click on the tree or the player on the front page or on the Listen Now page. We play the best variety of Christmas music all year long. Well, except in October, when we play the best variety of Halloween music. I'm very excited to have jazz singer Olivia Van Goor on the podcast today. Hi, Olivia.
Hi, Ken. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for making the time for us. Is jazz singer the way you like to be introduced, or is there something else?
That's a good question. Honestly, it changes depending on what kind of work I'm doing. With my artistic endeavors and the album that we're going to talk about, jazz singer, jazz vocalist, singer, that's kind of the main thing.
Or award-winning jazz vocalist.
That's true, too. You can say that if you want.
Okay. Award-winning jazz vocalist Olivia Van Goor is with us today. Two-time winner of the 2025 Michigan Music Awards, Best Jazz Album, Best Jazz Single Performance, Best Vocalist by the for the Preservation of Jazz Excellence Award in Detroit, and adjunct professor of vocal jazz at Hillsdale College. And I don't, this is your life, Olivia, but I wanted to, for anybody who's not familiar with your music, I wanted to show that you've got some credentials.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that.
And I know I've missed some, but recently an Anita O'Day tribute, performance of the music of Ella Fitzgerald, of Sarah Vaughan. How did you find your way to all of this classic jazz?
Yeah, so I grew up playing piano and considered myself just generally musical, but then singing was always something I liked to do. However, as a kid, I got very self-conscious of the other more serious singer kids, and I was very early to declare myself not officially a singer or not officially any, serious musician, because I also didn't know what that looked like. So I kept playing music and finding my own ways of performing, whether it was open mic nights with a guitar or with piano and singing. But it wasn't until I started, I'll rewind a little bit. In high school, I was encouraged to audition for the jazz band, and that was the first time I'd ever sung this music. And I really liked a lot of things about it. I liked the general feel, or rather the importance of feel for everyone. I liked that the vocalist was more of an ensemble thing. I liked that I felt as much of a part of the band as my singer friends or my musician friend, instrumentalist friends, compared to I did a musical and it felt very disconnected from the rest of the players. So I liked a lot of things about it, but I didn't get to do a deep dive until my family moved outside of Metro Detroit area, and I just happened upon a camp. And it was the first time I'd ever done a serious music camp, and it's the Detroit Summer Jazz Workshop. Changed my life. I was really unaware of all of the ways that someone could be involved with singing jazz, and I started little. I started a little bit at a time and climbed my way up until now, which is 8 years later after that first year of the camp. And it's just been a super fun adventure and falling more and more in love with this music.
For most who don't live in Detroit or near Detroit or haven't even been to Detroit, when you say Detroit, what comes to mind musically is Motown.
Sure.
And if anybody had said, well, Olivia was brought up and got her feet wet in with Motown music, that would not have been a surprise. But most people don't think of Detroit as a jazz town, which is kind of crazy because Aretha Franklin, so much jazz and blues, but Motown gets top billing.
Yeah, so I think if you dig a little bit deeper in the history, there's actually like the reason that Motown was so successful here is that there were so many, it was built on having a studio band of musicians, and they were all jazz musicians that could step in and play anything, and it was all capitalized on, and Motown became its own thing. But before then, it was jazz, and there was a whole area of Detroit that's now tear down, and that there's history of all the greats coming in and playing at all those clubs that don't exist anymore. And Detroit is actually home of the, I'm going to get it wrong, but it's either the largest or it's something, I think it's the largest free jazz festival in the, or the longest running or something. It's got the Detroit Jazz Festival has got some sort of credential like that. So it feels like the Motown stuff is the top priority because it's on all of the pictures, or even, you watch a Lions game and they always play Ain't No Mountain High Enough and, all that stuff. But there's so much rich history of jazz here, which makes me never want to leave because I feel like I have access to world-class musicians here without the craziness of being in somewhere like New York, or even just the fact that it's so competitive there. And here, everyone's more accessible, but the credentials or the level is so high that I really learned so much being around here, and that's kind of why I've stayed.
With all that said, it would be no surprise to anybody listening that your first release was a cover of something Ella sang or something like that. But your first release, if I have this right, was a single called Hershey Bar that you wrote.
Well, I wrote the lyrics, but it's an old tune. It's a Johnny Mandel tune from the 1950s. And there's a version that Charlie Parker played, and then there's a vocal version that Anita O'Day sang, just scat syllables. But I hadn't come across a version that had lyrics, so I wrote lyrics to it. And yeah, it was my first single.
And I don't want to go through everything because everybody listening wants to hear about the Christmas stuff, but I've got to mention the EP Don't Be Mad at Me that came out a couple years ago that has Over the Rainbow, Almost Like Being in Love, and God Bless the Child, which, depending on who you ask, is a Christmas song.
Sure.
And among original compositions, any particular reason that led you to those three songs?
Yeah, so God Bless the Child was one of the first songs that I learned because I sang with the high school jazz band, and that was one of the songs that they gave me. So I always loved singing it, and it felt like a part of my journey in so many ways. And I also loved that it's one of the standards that has compositional credits to a vocalist. Billie Holiday co-composed it. That's also the reason why I chose a song called Shulia Bop, because it was co-composed by Sarah Vaughan, and singers are usually not known as writers. But yeah, Almost Like Being in Love, I always loved that song. I love it's jogging my memory. That album, I put together some of those songs because they had just become staples in my set, and I had found ways that I wanted to do them. And it's different than the Christmas album because the Christmas album was all recorded before I had the chance to play a lot of the songs live. But Don't Be Mad at Me was the end result of trying songs and seeing what clicked with me and what I liked, and then fleshing out ideas and then recording it.
So we've got all of these classic standards, and then one of your latest non-Christmas singles is Michael Jackson's Human Nature.
Yes.
which was it your arrangement?
Yes. In
Because
five.
it's much different than Michael's.
Yes. I was on a gig that was all the it wasn't my gig, and it was a theme of jazz versions of pop songs. And not like postmodern jukebox jazz versions, but more modern uh, interpretations of pop songs, and really pop up until like the 80s. So it was a lot of Beatles interpretations in a modern sense, or, like Everybody Wants to Rule the World was one of them on that set. And I wanted to bring something that I already knew, and I always liked that song. And I just came up with how it would feel to phrase it over a groove in five, and it went over really well. So I thought, you know what, this is cool. This is a good representation of the other kind of stuff that I can do, not just the traditional swing style.
And just before we get to Christmas music, I want to talk Halloween music because on your YouTube channel, you have a short where you've written lyrics to the Great Pumpkin Waltz from Vince
Yeah.
Guaraldi.
Yeah. Hopefully I'm going to record that next year.
That was going to be my question. So, what inspired you to write lyrics to that?
The same reason why I like to write lyrics to anything really that is known as an instrumental, because it connects with the musicians that I play with. So instead of just recycling the same vocal standards, going to a musician, not only does it challenge me as a musician, because it's not like a super simple song. There's some odd measures, there's some funky chord changes. It was a great challenge to write the lyrics, but once I had that done, then I've been bringing them to gigs, and the musicians go, "Oh yeah, oh I love that song," and then they'll be like, "Oh no, it's in a different key." But it kind of keeps things interesting for everyone, which is always a goal for me because I do so many gigs, especially background gigs and things that can get kind of monotonous.
The Christmas album, Waiting for Santa, just came out this season. Not your first foray into Christmas music. You had an original single a couple years ago, which is how I found you in the first place, Santa Bring My Baby to Town. I'm just curious, for your first, am I right that was your first Christmas release?
Yes.
Okay. Writing an original Christmas song is really diving into the deep end.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to keep asking what inspired you, but what led you to decide that you wanted to write a Christmas single?
So I agree with you that there is an element of difficulty, or just a challenge aspect to writing Christmas music, because it's it is so it's a canon of music that's so classic and it's already solidified. But I kind of always felt like writing a Christmas song was easier than writing in general, because it didn't have to reflect my life, and it didn't feel like I had to start from scratch and reinvent anything. So coming up with a premise and then just figuring it out like a puzzle, where where the rhythm would feel good, and how that would come together, and it's more like a game, which was really fun for me and took a lot of the pressure off to write about anything really, too crazy. It was more like writing a fiction story, or just playing with imagination instead of trying to be introspective, which was a big lesson that I learned from that and from the new album with writing more Christmas songs, because I realized that is really what I like to do. I like to write about stories that may or may not have happened to me, or just come up with things like that and use my imagination.
Waiting for Santa is the new album. When Santa Bring My Baby to Town was finished and you put it out there, was there an idea, maybe even just in the back of your head, of doing a Christmas album?
Yeah, the idea was that I thought it would be cool to do a couple of Christmas things every year until it would become an album. But I quickly changed my mind when I was able to imagine what the just do a full album. But that's why I started with the single, but I got excited.
Waiting for Santa is the name of the album, and one of the real treats, at least for me on it, was four Rankin Bass songs from
Yes.
the old, I think they were all in the 70s, the TV specials. Put one foot in front of the other, Silver and Gold, and There's Always Tomorrow. So I guess it's really three Rankin Bass songs, and then an original that you did based on those, which I just love, Hermes Blues,
Yes.
which is a very fun bluesy Christmas song about Hermie the elf. He was the elf that wanted to be a dentist. And so which came first, these covers of the Rankin Bass songs or Hermie's song?
Both, because Silver and Gold was always in my set. The last couple of years, I've added that one because it fits so easily into jazz form. It's just like any other standard, and it was always fun to do that song because then people would be like, "Oh yeah, that's not the same old songs, and it's not there's a there's a theme here. I can tell already on this interview, but then I was coming up with ideas of other songs that I liked from these movies, and I had a couple of them as ideas, and it really came down to the arrangements where There's Always Tomorrow is a waltz, but we put it in four as a swing tune, and then Put One Foot in Front of the Other was turned into like a calypso type of groove. And I thought, I need a bluesy song to round out the feel of my album. And I was trying to come up with, because it's very common for jazz musicians to dedicate blueses, whether it's to personal people, to other musicians, to, whatever. But I thought, why not one of the characters? And I immediately thought of Hermie, and I always loved Rudolph. I mean, who wouldn't? But it just rolled off the tongue even, and I'm like, man, like he needs a blues. His whole life is the blues. Like so that was how it was born. And then I wrote it with the pianist Mike Harrison, and we're good friends. So we had too much fun writing that because we were being so silly. But it started with absurd lyrics that honestly were pretty similar to the finished product. And I think it just turned into the most fun song.
It is a lot of fun. When I saw that this album was coming out and I tracked it down, it starts off with Silver Bells, which is one of my favorite Christmas songs. And then it's a bunch of original songs, and then it gets to the Rankin Bass, and I was like, this is just fun, and it's different. I hate to say that because it makes it sound bad. It's different than anything else that I had certainly come across this season. And I don't know if that was a goal or not, but
Yeah.
that really made it stick out to me.
Well, I think then that means I achieved my goal of creating a really true to myself album. I wanted it to have a lot of like individual art integrity and just reflect my everything, whether it's how I feel about the holiday season and the topics that I like to include, and taking a deep dive back into nostalgia, but also I've always thought it was interesting the tie that jazz and Christmas music has, and I kind of wanted to push that further into the jazz stuff and see how much interesting musical things I can sneak into a fun and palatable and unique record. And I am so happy with it because it checks off all those boxes for me, which is, I think, I don't know. I mean, I don't know everyone else who's released music and what their motives are, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't just writing something because I thought it would be commercially successful.
Yeah, I think from many of the people that I've talked to, it seems that the better finished product is the one that they almost kind of wrote for themselves. This is the kind of Christmas music I want to hear. I want out there. This is something I would enjoy, and there's more heart, and they're just more real than one more cover of "All I Want for Christmas Is You."
Right. Yeah, and that's actually exactly what I felt. I wanted to create an album that had the type of music that I love to listen to and just had more jazz and more arrangement forward songs, but just a lot of swing and exactly something that I would want to listen to.
Yeah, I think, it's funny. I already mentioned Aretha Franklin, but she didn't put out her own Christmas album until 2007, 2008, something like that. And she said that she loved to have family over at Christmas time and they would put on Christmas music. And it suddenly occurred to her, why aren't we listening to mine? And well, because I don't have an album yet. So she decided to do that. And I just thought, what a great reason that you love Christmas and Christmas music. So you want to put out there what you love.
Yes.
I think that's terrific. I don't want to go track by track through this because I want to leave something for people to discover. But is there one of these originals that really stands out to you that you just are either really proud of or had the most fun writing, aside from Hermes Blues, of course?
The song that I would choose is "Santa, Did You Get My Letter?" because it was one of the three that is entirely me writing, or four. Did I write three or four? I wrote "Santa, Did You Get My Letter?" I wrote "Waiting Up for Santa." I wrote "My Family's Tree Topper." Yeah, and then the other ones were covers. Yes. Or no, the other ones were co-written with other people. But yeah, "Santa, Did You Get My Letter?" was entirely me. And I just really I was really proud of the tune itself and then the arrangement and trying to create an upbeat and an up-tempo tune. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I loved every part of it.
As an indie artist, which I hate that kind of title because I don't know if it even means anything anymore, but there's so much that you have to do aside from writing and recording and mixing and producing and all of that. There's so much that you have to do to get an album out there. And I really enjoyed the video you made, Everything I Did to Release My Independent Jazz Christmas Album. That's on your YouTube channel, where anybody, if you're ever wondering what goes into it, because I'll say that a lot, that it takes a lot. This is a really good example. What made you decide to finally to do a video like that?
To be honest, it's one of the ideas that I had just to talk about the album more, and I've been trying to come up with things that I would want to put on my YouTube channel besides singing, and I've always thought of some advice-giving type of videos that I would do, and I didn't really flesh out some of the ideas that I had, but I thought, it'd be pretty easy just to reflect on what I've done, and it really doesn't even go into too much detail, just outlines pretty much every step that I wanted to cover and that I had to cover to make the album happen. And yeah, I thought there aren't too many videos that are not trying to like bait anyone into it, or I don't know. I guess I didn't do too much research on if there were other videos quite like it, but I know that some people have asked me questions like this, and now I can just also just send them the video.
Well, I think it's a great thing to have on there because a lot of people don't get it. And I don't mean that to be in a negative way. If you're not even tangentially in the music business, why would you? But there is so much more to that. It's not like you went into a special room in your house that was soundproof, that's your recording studio, and you knocked out the album and boom, that's all there was to it. Because there is so much more. I know you've got a Bandcamp page. Is that your preferred way of people finding your music? Or do you even have a preferred way?
Well, preferred is always coming to a show and then buying
Okay.
it there. But yeah, Bandcamp is where I'm selling the CDs, the vinyl, and some greeting cards, some Christmas cards that I got done, and some stickers. But I'm shipping almost every day because of Bandcamp, which is just so great that there's a platform like it. I can't think of a better one for selling my stuff. And obviously, if people want to stream it or tune into some radio shows, I know that I'm being played on different radio shows across the U.S. and just sharing it with people and if you have anyone that you think might like it, then sharing it with them and yeah, that's all I can ask.
I'll make sure to put a link to that and your YouTube channel down in the show notes. There's some great, I know you were talking about wanting to put things up besides just, performances, but there's some great performances of stuff that I don't think you've recorded yet. One of them that leaps to mind, not a Christmas song, sorry everybody, My Blue Heaven. I
Oh
think
yeah.
it's a great fun song and it's one of those, it's a classic. I don't know if I guess it would be a standard, but I don't think a lot of people play that anymore.
Yeah, I agree. There's a couple singers that have done versions of it, which is where I found the song, but I like it too. It's kind of got that bluesy, gospely feel to it.
I know you've got a bunch of shows rounding out December, and what does 2026 look like for you? Anything that you can share yet?
Yeah, well, I'm taking a little bit of a break in January because of how crazy this month is. And then I have some sprinklings of spring shows, mostly in Michigan. I will be back in Cleveland on Valentine's Day at the Bop Stop, which is now a fourth annual thing, third annual, I can't remember. But mostly Michigan things booked for now. And yeah, I'm not quite sure yet. There's a couple different ways that it could go because of some things that I am not sure yet. I can't say. But yeah, I'm excited for more writing. I think this album inspired me to just write more, and I'm going to try to apply some of the same ideas that I did writing some songs for the Christmas album and write just some other original material, and maybe an album will come out of that.
I hate to ask, but I'm a Christmas music junkie, so I can't help it. I know this just came out, but any chance that there's more Christmas music down the road?
I will say the vinyl has some space, and my goal is if I sell out this year of this first print, then I would record, probably re-record Santa Bring My Baby to Town because it's in a different studio, and add that and one more on a second printing of the record and have it be kind of attached to the same project, but I'm not sure yet. We'll see.
Okay. I encourage everybody listening to go to Olivia's Bandcamp page and buy this. And not just because I'm sitting here talking to her and I'm right in front of her and everything, but when you love music that an artist has made, going to that artist and buying it is a great idea. And it's a great idea because it helps them make more of the music that you're enjoying. So if you want some of the things that Olivia was talking about coming next year or the year after,
Exactly.
go
The
buy
only way
her
that it's
music.
possible.
Yeah, go buy her music. I mean, it'd be great to go to her shows too. I'll put a link to your website too, so they can check out where the shows are. Detroit in December is can be brutal,
I
but
know it was just snowing this morning too, but I think we're good for this week. I have a lot of touring, and then we'll see what happens next week.
if you don't want to go in the winter, just bookmark her page and go back to it and see when she's playing this spring. And
Thank you so much, Ken. That's so generous, and I appreciate all that you do and how much you love Christmas music too.
oh, thank you very much. This whole Sounds of Christmas, the station and the podcast have been, for the most part, have been a lot of fun because I do love the music so much, and I like talking to people who have made some of the music that I enjoy so much. It's it's at least a way to say thank you. So thank you.
Thank you.
And if we don't talk again before then, I hope you have a Merry Christmas, and I'm looking forward to listening to this new album for a long time to come.
Thank you so much, Ken. That's so generous, and I look forward to the next time that I am able to release Christmas music again. It's just so fun.
And thank you so much for listening, helping us share some Christmas spirit, and for continuing to support the Sounds of Christmas station and podcast. I already told you how to listen to the station, and you're listening to the podcast now, so my work here is just about done. All of our episodes are available on the Sounds of Christmas website. Just click the podcast tab. And we also have a Linktree page, and I'll put a link to that down in the show notes. And that has most, if not all, of the sites that stream the Sounds of Christmas podcast. So you can click on that, find your favorite, then click on over, and then subscribe, and you'll never miss another episode. If you have comments or suggestions on this episode, previous episodes, or the Sounds of Christmas station, feel free to reach out to me on social media or through the website. Thanks again, and may you always believe in Santa Claus.